The ignored warning. The Galactic Council chamber was a marvel of alien engineering, a massive structure floating in the dark void of space. Its walls shimmered with a faint blue glow, powered by an ancient energy source no human had ever seen. The room was filled with representatives from dozens of alien species, each one unique in size, shape, and color. Some had scales that gleamed like polished metal. Others had soft fur or skin that rippled with changing patterns. They were the rulers of the galaxy, the ones who made decisions that shaped entire civilizations. Today, they had gathered to discuss an unusual topic: humans. At the center of the chamber stood Salvax of Zither, a tall, imposing figure with skin like molten silver and eyes that burned like tiny suns. His deep voice echoed as he addressed the assembly. I come before you today with a warning. Humanity, the species from the small blue planet they call Earth, is not what you think. The room erupted in laughter. A short, frog-like alien from the Thranok system croaked loudly. Humans. Those fragile, primitive creatures. Why should we waste our time on them? Zalvax's eyes narrowed, but he remained calm. They are more than they appear. Their history is filled with conflict, yet they have survived against impossible odds. They adapt quickly, learn faster than most species, and possess a determination that even the strongest empires cannot break. A snake-like alien, coiled in the corner, hissed mockingly. They are insects. Their weapons are centuries behind ours. Their ships are laughable. How could they possibly threaten the Galactic Council? Zalvax raised a hand, silencing the room. I have studied them. I have seen what they are capable of. You think their lack of technology makes them weak, but you forget one thing. Humans fight differently. They use their minds, their cunning, and their will to survive. If you push them too far, they will push back. And when they do, you will not be prepared. The room fell quiet for a moment. Some of the representatives shifted uncomfortably, while others rolled their eyes. The leader of the Vraxan Empire, a creature with shimmering, insect-like wings, leaned forward. Are you suggesting we fear a species that can barely leave their own planet? Salvax, your paranoia is unbecoming of a Zithorian. I am not paranoid, Salvax replied firmly. I am realistic. Humanity is young, yes, but that makes them dangerous. They are unpredictable. If you provoke them, if you invade their territory, you will regret it. Another wave of laughter swept through the chamber. This time, it was louder and more dismissive. Salvax could feel their arrogance filling the air like a thick fog. He sighed deeply. You think I'm exaggerating? Fine. But remember this. Humanity does not forget. They do not forgive. If you choose to ignore my warning, do so at your own peril. With that, Salvax stepped back from the podium. The council leader, a towering being with glowing orbs for eyes, spoke in a calm yet dismissive tone. Thank you for your passionate speech, Salvax of Zither. The council will take your words under advisement. The Zithorian's molten silver face hardened. He knew what those words meant. The council had no intention of heeding his warning. He glanced around the chamber one last time, noting the smug faces of the other delegates. Then he turned and left, his long, shimmering cloak trailing behind him. As the chamber doors closed behind him, the council leader addressed the assembly. Now, on to the next order of business. We have received reports of rich mineral deposits on a moon near Earth's solar system. The proposal is to establish mining colonies there. The Thranok's delegate croaked excitedly. Let us take what we need. Humans won't even notice. The Vraxan leader nodded. Agreed. Their technology is too primitive to detect our presence, and even if they do, they cannot stop us. The council voted unanimously to proceed. The warning from Salvax was already forgotten. Meanwhile, aboard his personal ship, Salvax stared out at the stars, his expression grim. They will learn, he muttered to himself. But by the time they do, it will be too late. Back in the council chamber, the delegates celebrated their decision, confident in their superiority. They believed humans were insignificant, a species unworthy of serious consideration. But far away on Earth, humanity was already watching. Hidden satellites tracked every move the aliens made. In secret underground facilities, scientists and engineers worked tirelessly, preparing for a day they all knew would come, the day when the galaxy would learn what it meant to challenge humanity. The warning had been ignored. The consequences were coming. The spark of war. Far from the Galactic Council's glittering halls, 3 alien fleets emerged from hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system. Massive warships floated silently against the backdrop of stars, their hulls bristling with weapons. These were vessels of conquest, sent by the arrogant delegates who had dismissed humanity as nothing more than a minor nuisance. Their mission was simple: establish mining operations on the moon of Callista, a mineral-rich satellite orbiting a gas giant near Earth's borders. The Council believed humans wouldn't even notice their presence. If they did, they wouldn't dare to resist. Admiral Krytax of the Vraxan Empire stood on the bridge of his flagship, a monstrous, insect-like vessel with glowing, pulsating wings that flapped noiselessly in the vacuum of space. He gazed at the moon through a holographic projection, his multifaceted eyes narrowing with satisfaction. "Pathetic," he muttered. "These humans truly believe this sector belongs to them." Around him, his crew of winged Vraxans busied themselves, preparing for the deployment of mining equipment. It was a routine operation, one they had carried out countless times before. There was no reason to expect trouble. But trouble was coming. On Earth, a warning is issued. Inside a fortified underground command center on Earth, monitors lit up with alien activity. A team of humans, dressed in plain uniforms and working in tense silence, analyzed the data pouring in from their network of hidden satellites. "They're here," said Commander Elena Torres, her voice steady but firm. She was a woman of sharp features and sharper instincts, someone who had risen to her position through sheer grit. Her second-in-command, Lieutenant David Park, frowned at the screen. 3 fleets, mining ships, warships, and... He paused, his eyes scanning the readouts. "It looks like they're building a forward base. They're not just passing through." Elena's jaw tightened. She turned to the communications officer. "Send a message, short and clear." The officer nodded and typed furiously. Within moments, a simple transmission was sent. "This is Earth territory. Leave immediately or face consequences." The aliens dismissed the threat. The message reached the alien fleets moments later. On the bridge of the Vraxan flagship, Admiral Krytax snorted in amusement as he read the text. "They think a threat will scare us," he said, his mandibles clicking in mock laughter. "What consequences could they possibly bring?" His officers joined in the laughter, their sharp, insect-like voices filling the room. Krytax leaned back in his command chair, waving a claw dismissively. "Send no response," he ordered. "Let them watch as we strip their precious moon bare." The other fleets, led by commanders from the Thranox and Yalveni species, reacted similarly. The humans' warning was little more than a joke to them. The first strike. Hours later, as the aliens began deploying their mining equipment, something unexpected happened. Without warning, one of the Thranox mining rigs exploded in a brilliant flash of light. The blast sent debris flying in all directions, taking out 2 smaller ships nearby. "What was that?" roared the Thranox commander, a frog-like creature with glowing yellow eyes. His crew scrambled to assess the situation, but before they could react, another rig went up in flames. On the Vraxan flagship, Admiral Krytax received the news with disbelief. "Sabotage. Impossible. These humans don't have the capability." But the attacks continued. Precision strikes hit key infrastructure across all 3 fleets. Mining rigs were destroyed, communication arrays were disabled, and supply ships vanished without a trace. It wasn't brute force. It wasn't even advanced technology. It was surgical, calculated, and devastatingly effective. The aliens began to worry. Back on the Vraxan bridge, Krytax slammed a clawed fist onto the arm of his chair. "Who is doing this?" he shouted, I want answers. One of his officers, a young Vraxan with trembling wings, spoke hesitantly. Admiral, the humans, they might be behind this. Krytax turned on him with a glare. Impossible. They're primitives. How could they? Before he could finish, another explosion rocked the ship. Alarms blared as the lights flickered. A cold realization began to creep over the admiral. What if they'd been hiding their true strength? One of his senior officers suggested, her voice barely above a whisper. Krytax's mandibles clicked nervously. No, it can't be. A shadowy organization. On Earth, the mastermind behind the operation watched the chaos unfold with satisfaction. The man, known only as Director Cade, leaned back in his chair in a dimly lit room, his face partially obscured by shadows. They're scrambling, he said, his voice calm and measured. Good. Let them think we're ghosts. Around him, a team of specialists worked silently, monitoring the results of their sabotage. They weren't using superior technology. They were using creativity, resourcefulness, and sheer human ingenuity. Improvised devices, cyber attacks, and misdirection were their tools. Cade turned to one of his top agents, a woman named Riley, who had just returned from a covert mission. What's their next move? They'll try to retaliate, Riley replied, but they won't know where to strike. We've kept them blind. Cade smiled. Perfect. Let them flail. This is only the beginning. The tension builds. Back in space, the alien fleets were in disarray. Supplies were dwindling, morale was dropping, and paranoia was spreading among the crews. They had come expecting an easy mission, but now they were facing an invisible enemy. On the Vraxan flagship, Krytax paced the bridge, his confidence shattered. He had underestimated humans, and now he was paying the price. We must send a message to the Council, one of his officers suggested. Krytax shook his head. No, if we admit failure, we'll be the laughingstock of the galaxy. We'll deal with this ourselves. But deep down, he wasn't so sure. For the first time in his career, Admiral Krytax felt fear. And far away on Earth, humanity was just getting started. The unseen power. The alien fleets lingered near Earth's solar system, their ships battered but operational. They had regrouped, patched up their losses, and tightened security around their operations. Admiral Krytax of the Vraxan Empire ordered round-the-clock surveillance, determined to catch whoever was behind the attacks. But despite their efforts, the strikes continued. It began with something small. A reconnaissance drone sent to scout the dark side of Callista disappeared without a trace. Hours later, a supply ship carrying critical materials failed to respond to communications. When a search team located it, the vessel was drifting lifelessly, its crew missing and its systems mysteriously fried. Admiral Krytax stood on the bridge of his flagship, staring at a holographic map of the moon. Red markers flashed where sabotage had occurred. This isn't random, he growled, his mandibles clicking in frustration. Someone is playing a game with us, and I will find them. A new kind of warfare. In an underground base on Earth, Director Cade watched the alien fleet through a high-resolution display. His team had tapped into the alien ship's internal systems, using stealth technology to intercept communications and study their movements. They've started reinforcing their positions, said Riley, Cade's top agent. She leaned over a console, typing furiously. We won't catch them off guard like before. Cade smirked. They're adapting. Good. So will we. The humans had developed a unique form of warfare, one the aliens could neither predict nor counter. Their weapons weren't advanced by galactic standards. They weren't plasma cannons or antimatter bombs. Instead, they relied on ingenuity. Small, stealthy drones built from salvaged parts infiltrated alien ships, planting EMP devices that disabled entire sections of their systems. Sabotage teams, operating from hidden bases on Callista, used guerrilla tactics to outmaneuver the aliens' superior firepower. Every move the humans made was precise, calculated, and devastatingly effective. The aliens began to fracture. In the Thrennox fleet, paranoia was spreading like a virus. The frog-like Thrennox commander, General Golnax, sat in his command chair, his yellow eyes darting nervously. Admiral Kratax claims these humans are primitive, Golnax muttered, his webbed fingers drumming on the armrest. But this is no primitive species. His officers exchanged uneasy glances. One of them, a young Thrennox with bright green skin, finally spoke. General, perhaps we should retreat. Regroup with the Council and request reinforcements. Golnax slammed his fist onto the console. Retreat. Do you want to be humiliated before the entire galaxy? No, we will hold this position and crush these pests. But his words lacked conviction. Deep down, he knew the humans were unlike any enemy he had faced before. An unexpected encounter. On the surface of Callista, a Thrennox scouting team was patrolling the rugged terrain. They moved cautiously, their amphibious bodies blending with the rocky environment. Suddenly, one of them froze. Do you hear that? The others stopped, their weapons at the ready. A faint humming noise echoed through the air, growing louder by the second. Drone, shouted the team leader. But it was too late. A small, silent machine shot out from the shadows, releasing a burst of electromagnetic energy. The aliens' weapons and communication devices went dead instantly. Before they could react, figures emerged from the darkness. Humans, clad in sleek, black suits designed to blend into the environment. They moved with precision, disabling the Thrennox soldiers with non-lethal weapons. One of the humans, a tall figure with sharp eyes, approached the Thrennox leader. Tell your commanders this moon belongs to Earth, she said, her voice calm but firm. And if you stay, we'll make sure none of you leave. The humans vanished as quickly as they had appeared, leaving the Thrennox scout team shaken and defenseless. Admiral Kratax's desperation. Back aboard the Vraxen flagship, Admiral Kratax's patience had run out. He slammed his claws onto the command table, his voice echoing through the bridge. Enough of this, he roared. Deploy all remaining forces. I want every corner of this moon searched. Find these humans and destroy them. His officers hesitated. One of them, a veteran with scurred wings, spoke cautiously. Admiral, what if they're baiting us? If we spread ourselves too thin, we'll... Silence. Kratax interrupted. I will not let a pack of savages make fools of us. Reluctantly, the fleet obeyed his orders. Ships and ground troops were deployed en masse, scouring the moon for any sign of human activity. The humans' secret weapon. Deep beneath Callista's surface, hidden in a network of caves, the humans were ready. Director Cave stood at the center of a command hub, surrounded by monitors displaying the alien fleet's movements. They're coming for us, Riley reported, her voice steady despite the tension. Cade nodded. Good. Let them come. He activated a holographic display, revealing a grid of devices spread across the moon's surface. These were the humans' secret weapon, small, self-replicating machines capable of disrupting alien technology. They had been quietly deployed over weeks, burrowing into the terrain and waiting for the right moment. Activate the grid, Cade ordered. Riley hesitated. Won't that reveal our position? Yes, Cade replied with a faint smile. But by the time they realize what's happening, it won't matter. The turning tide. As the alien fleets closed in, their ships and equipment began to malfunction. Communications failed, weapons systems powered down, and engines sputtered to a halt. On the Vraxen flagship, chaos erupted as consoles flickered and alarms blared. Admiral Kratax stared at the failing systems in disbelief. What is happening? He bellowed. One of his officers turned to him, panic in her voice. It's the humans, Admiral. They've done something to the moon itself. We're losing control of everything. Kratax's mandibles twitched as the realization hit him. This wasn't just sabotage. This was a coordinated assault, and the humans were in complete control. Far below, on the surface of Callista, Cade watched the chaos unfold with satisfaction. "This is what happens," he said quietly, "when you underestimate humanity." The aliens had come to take what they wanted, but now they were learning a harsh lesson. The humans weren't just fighting back, they were winning. The human factor. Admiral Kretax stood at the shattered helm of his flagship, his once mighty fleet in disarray. Every plan, every strategy, had crumbled under the relentless attacks of an enemy he couldn't even see. The humans weren't using brute force or overwhelming firepower. They were using something far more terrifying: unpredictability. "Admiral," an officer called out, his voice trembling. "We've received word from the Thranok scouts. They've encountered humans on the moon's surface. And, sir, the humans left them alive. They sent a message." Kretax narrowed his many eyes. "What message?" The officer hesitated, then played the recording. A calm human voice echoed through the bridge. "This moon is ours. You are not welcome here. Leave now, or face the consequences." The bridge fell silent. Even the most seasoned officers felt a chill run through their carapaces. This wasn't the voice of a primitive species. This was the voice of a predator. The alien perspective. In the temporary command center of the Yelvani fleet, High Commander Azrak sat with a furrowed brow. The Yelvani, a tall and crystalline species, prided themselves on their logical thinking and superior intellect. Yet here they were, outmaneuvered and humiliated by creatures who had barely begun exploring their own solar system. "How is this possible?" Azrak demanded, his crystalline skin glinting under the harsh lights. "These humans lack the resources, the technology, the infrastructure to fight us." A junior officer timidly stepped forward. "Commander, perhaps they're not fighting us directly. They seem to be using our strengths against us, exploiting our reliance on technology. Disabling rather than destroying." Azrak's glowing eyes flickered as he processed this. "So they fight with cunning, not strength. How? Primitive. And yet, effective." He turned to his communications officer. "Send a reconnaissance team to Earth. I want to know what makes these humans so dangerous. On Earth, a glimpse into humanity." The Yelvani reconnaissance team descended to Earth in cloaked vessels, slipping through the atmosphere undetected. Their mission was clear: observe, analyze, and report back on the nature of humanity. They landed in a bustling city under the cover of night. To their surprise, the humans weren't preparing for war. Instead, they found themselves in the middle of a marketplace, where laughter, conversation, and music filled the air. "These creatures, they don't act like a species at war," one Yelvani scout remarked, his crystalline fingers brushing against a vending machine he found fascinating. The team split up, blending into the shadows as they observed humanity in its natural state. They saw people repairing vehicles with salvaged parts, children playing games that demonstrated quick thinking and strategy, and families gathered around screens, cheering at a competitive game involving tactics and resource management. One scout stumbled upon a group of engineers in a workshop, cobbling together a drone from scraps. Their tools were crude by Yelvani standards, but their ingenuity was undeniable. This is their strength," the scout whispered into his communicator. "They create solutions from nothing. They improvise. They don't rely on perfection. They thrive in chaos." A shocking revelation. The reconnaissance team's report reached Azrak, and he studied it with growing unease. "The humans are not technologically advanced," the report concluded, "but their adaptability is unparalleled. They find weaknesses in systems, exploit every flaw, and turn even the smallest advantage into victory. They are unlike any species we've encountered." Azrak's crystalline face darkened as he realized the implications. "They fight not because they are strong," he said quietly, "but because they refuse to lose. And that makes them unstoppable." The spark of defiance. On Callista, the humans launched a new wave of attacks. This time, they didn't just disable equipment, they captured alien soldiers. One such prisoner, A Thrannox soldier named Grelka found herself sitting in a dimly lit human facility. The humans hadn't harmed her. In fact, they had treated her injuries and even offered her water, a substance she found strangely refreshing. Across from her sat Riley, the human operative who had led the capture. Riley leaned forward, her sharp eyes fixed on Grelka. "We don't want this war," Riley said calmly. "But if you invade our territory, we will fight. And we will win." Grelka croaked nervously. "How can you win against the Galactic Council? They are more powerful than you can imagine." Riley smiled faintly. "Power doesn't win wars. Resilience does. Determination does. And humans, we have both in abundance." Grelka shivered. In that moment, she understood why her people had failed. They had underestimated humanity, not their weapons, but their spirit. A growing divide. Back in space, the alien fleets were fracturing. Arguments broke out among the commanders. The Thrannox wanted to retreat and report back to the Council, but the Vraxans refused to accept defeat. "We will not run from primitives." Admiral Kritax roared during a heated meeting. "If we retreat now, we lose our honor." "Honor?" General Golnax of the Thrannox shot back. "What good is honor if we're all dead? These humans are not what we thought. They're something else entirely." High Commander Azrak of the Yelvani, usually calm and collected, slammed his crystalline fist on the table. "Enough. We cannot afford to fight among ourselves. The Council must be informed. If we don't understand humanity, we will lose more than just this moon." Reluctantly, the alien leaders agreed to send a report to the Galactic Council. But deep down, each of them knew the truth: they had already lost control. Humanity's silent strength. Far below, on Earth, Director Cade watched the alien fleets tear themselves apart. "They're divided," Riley reported. "What's our next move?" Cade smiled. "We let them fight among themselves. And when the time is right, we'll remind them why they should never underestimate humanity." As the humans prepared for the next phase of their campaign, the galaxy was beginning to realize that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their technology. It was their ability to adapt, endure, and outthink even the most advanced civilizations. The spark of war had turned into a fire, and the aliens were learning a harsh truth. When humans are pushed to the brink, they push back harder than anyone could ever imagine. The turning point. The Galactic Council had never experienced such turmoil. Across the galaxy, reports of the escalating conflict with humanity trickled in, each one more alarming than the last. What was supposed to be a minor operation on the moon of Callista had turned into a quagmire that humiliated some of the most powerful fleets in the Council. In the vast chamber of the Council, the remaining delegates argued furiously. "The Vraxans and Thrannox have failed to maintain control," growled a representative from the Shirek, a hulking species with obsidian scales. "This is an embarrassment. How can we let a primitive species undermine us?" The Zither delegate, Salvax, sat in a corner with his arms folded, watching the chaos unfold with a faint smirk. Finally, he stood. "I warned you," Salvax said, his molten silver face calm but firm. "Humans are not primitives. They are survivors. They've spent millennia fighting each other, enduring famine, war, and natural disasters. You cannot break a species like that." But you didn't listen. The council leader, a towering creature with glowing eyes, waved a dismissive hand. "Enough, Salvax. What solution do you propose?" Salvax leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. "You leave Callista. You leave their solar system. You leave humans alone. If you don't, they will force you out. And trust me, they will succeed." His words hung heavy in the air, but the council was too proud, too blinded by its centuries of dominance, to heed his advice. The last stand on Callista. On the moon's surface, the alien fleets were preparing for their final assault. Their ships hovered in formation, weapon systems primed and ready. Despite their losses, Admiral Kritax and General Golnax refused to retreat. "We end this today," Kritax snarled, pacing the bridge of his flagship. "No more sabotage, no more games. We will crush them, and the galaxy will know our strength." But even as he spoke, his officers exchanged uneasy glances. The humans had been silent for days, their attacks ceasing without explanation. The sudden quiet unnerved the aliens more than the strikes themselves. "What if it's a trap?" one officer murmured, earning a sharp glare from Krytax. "It doesn't matter," the admiral snapped. "We fight, and we win." Earth's strategic reveal. Deep beneath Callista's surface, humanity was preparing for its most audacious move yet. In a hidden command center, Director Cade and his team stood before a massive holographic map of the moon and its orbit. "The aliens are going all in," Riley reported. "Their fleets are moving into a single formation, focusing all their firepower on the surface." Cade nodded. "Good. That's exactly what we need." The humans had been biding their time, using the quiet to finalize their trump card, a new fleet of stealth ships, constructed from salvaged alien materials. These ships weren't just invisible to radar. They were designed to infiltrate alien vessels, turning their own systems against them. "This is no longer just a defense mission," Cade announced to his team. "We're taking the fight to them. It's time for the galaxy to see what humanity is truly capable of." The ambush. As the alien fleets descended toward Callista, they suddenly encountered resistance, not from the surface, but from space. Out of nowhere, a swarm of sleek, black human ships appeared, their movements impossibly fast and unpredictable. They darted between the massive alien vessels, deploying electronic countermeasures that scrambled sensors and disabled weapons. Where did they get this technology? Krytax roared as his flagship systems began failing one by one. The human ships weren't firing conventional weapons. Instead, they used pinpoint EMP bursts to cripple the alien fleets, rendering their advanced technology useless. Entire squadrons of alien fighters drifted helplessly in the void. On board one of the stealth ships, Riley led a strike team into a disabled Thranox carrier. Moving with military precision, they hacked into the carrier's mainframe, broadcasting a chilling message to every alien ship. "This is Earth's territory. You are trespassing. Surrender now, or face the consequences." The price of hubris. In the chaos, some alien ships began retreating. The Thranox fleet, already demoralized, was the first to pull back. General Golmax issued a desperate order for full retreat, his yellow eyes wide with fear. "We cannot win this," he croaked to his crew. "Leave now, while we still can." But Admiral Krytax refused to yield. His flagship, now surrounded by human vessels, fought on, firing blindly into the void. "They're just humans," he shouted, his voice filled with rage. "I will not lose to them." As he spoke, a human stealth ship docked with his flagship. Moments later, the bridge doors burst open, and Riley's team stormed in. Krytax froze as Riley stepped forward, her weapon trained on him. "It's over, Admiral," she said calmly. "Your fleet is finished." Krytax's mandibles twitched as he stared at her, his pride warring with the cold reality of his defeat. Finally, he lowered his head. You are not what we thought," he muttered. "No," Riley replied. "We're worse." The aftermath. The Battle of Callista ended not with a decisive victory, but with a message. The alien fleets, battered and broken, limped away from the moon, leaving behind their mining equipment and wounded pride. The Galactic Council received the news with stunned silence. For the first time in centuries, their dominance had been challenged, and they had lost. In the quiet aftermath, Salvax addressed the Council once more. "You ignored my warning," he said. "Now the galaxy knows what happens when you provoke humanity. They are not conquerors, they are defenders. But if you push them, they will push back harder than you can imagine." Far away on Earth, Director Cade watched as the last alien ship disappeared from Callista's orbit. "This is just the beginning," he said to Riley. "The galaxy will think twice before underestimating us again. And for the first time in human history, The stars didn't seem so far away. The price of arrogance. The Galactic Council's grand chambers were silent. The delegates, who once laughed at the idea of humans as a threat, now watched holographic recordings of the battle over Callista. Alien warships, once the pride of the Council, floated lifeless in space, massive carriers disabled by unseen forces, soldiers retreating in panic. For centuries, the Council's authority had been unchallenged. Yet here was undeniable proof. Humanity had not only resisted but humiliated some of the most powerful species in the galaxy. The Council leader, a towering figure whose translucent form shimmered with an inner light, finally spoke. What happened on Callista is unacceptable. The Vraxans, the Thranox, and the Yalvani have brought shame upon us all. Salvax of Zither, sitting quietly at the edge of the chamber, let out a small, humorless laugh. All eyes turned to him. You speak of shame, as if it were the greatest loss here, Zalvax said, his molten silver face impassive. But the truth is far more severe. You've shown the galaxy something far worse than your humiliation. You've shown them that humanity can win. A ripple of unease spread through the chamber. The aliens struggled to regain control. Meanwhile, in the remnants of the alien fleets scattered across the galaxy, a desperate effort to regroup was underway. Damaged ships limped back to their home worlds, their commanders burdened with failure. In the Vraxan Empire, Admiral Kritax faced a tribunal of his peers. The once proud admiral stood with his head low, his mandibles twitching nervously. You failed us, a Vraxan elder spat. You had superior numbers, superior technology, and centuries of experience. And yet you were defeated by a species that has barely left its own atmosphere. Kritax straightened, his pride flaring despite the situation. You don't understand, Elder. Humans, they're not like us. They don't fight for conquest or resources. They fight because they have no choice, and when they do, they are relentless. The Elder's expression darkened. Relentless or not, they are a threat. The Council must decide how to respond. Humanity's terms. On Earth, Director Cade and his team prepared for the next phase. It wasn't enough to repel the invaders. Humanity needed to send a clear message to the galaxy. Earth was not a target. Riley stood in a briefing room, reviewing intercepted communications from the retreating alien fleets. They're fractured, she said. The Thranox are pulling back to lick their wounds. The Yalvani are begging the Council for reinforcements. And the Vraxans, well, they're too proud to admit defeat. Cade nodded. Good, then we strike while they're still divided. He turned to a holographic map of the galaxy. Send a message to the Council. We'll offer them a chance to negotiate, but on our terms. If they refuse, we'll show them just how far humanity is willing to go. The message that shocked the galaxy. Days later, the Galactic Council received an unprecedented transmission. The image of a human, Director Cade, appeared in their chamber, his calm demeanor hiding the weight of the moment. Members of the Galactic Council, Cade began, his voice steady. You came to our territory uninvited. You took what you wanted and assumed we would bow to your superiority. You were wrong. The chamber was silent as Cade's piercing gaze swept across the delegates. We do not seek war, he continued, but we will defend ourselves. And if you test us again, we will not stop until every last one of your fleets is dismantled. Murmurs of anger and disbelief rippled through the room, but Cade pressed on. Our terms are simple. Leave our solar system and never return. Recognize Earth and its colonies as sovereign territory. In return, we will leave you in peace. Refuse, and the consequences will be on your hands. The transmission ended abruptly, leaving the Council in stunned silence. The debate among the Council. The Council erupted into chaos. Some species called for retaliation, insisting humanity must be crushed before they became a larger threat. Others, like the Thranox and Yalvani, argued for caution. General Golmax, now a shadow of his former self, addressed the chamber. You don't understand what we're dealing with. Humans don't think like us. They don't fight like us. And they don't give up. A younger delegate from a lesser-known race sneered. So you propose we bow to them? Let primitives dictate terms to the greatest powers in the galaxy. No, Golnax replied quietly. I propose we survive. The council leader raised a hand, silencing the room. Enough. We cannot appear weak. But we also cannot afford another loss. Humanity has forced us into a corner. We must proceed carefully. Humanity's unseen hand. As the council debated, humanity wasn't waiting. Hidden across the galaxy, human operatives were already at work. They infiltrated alien networks, gathering intelligence and planting seeds of doubt among the council's member species. In the dark corners of the galaxy, whispers of humanity's defiance began to spread. Lesser races, long oppressed by the council, saw Earth as a beacon of hope. On Callista, Riley led a covert mission to dismantle the remaining alien mining infrastructure. As she and her team moved through the ruins, she paused to look up at the stars. They'll come back, one of her team members said. The council won't let this go. Riley nodded. They'll come back. But next time, we'll be ready. The council's decision. In a final tense session, the Galactic Council reached a reluctant conclusion. Humanity's terms would be accepted. For now. The fleets were ordered to retreat, and Earth was recognized as sovereign territory. But the Council's pride was wounded, and their memories were long. As the chamber emptied, Salvax of Zither stood alone, gazing at the stars through a massive viewport. They've underestimated humans again, he murmured to himself. They think this is the end. But for humanity, it's only the beginning. A new era. Back on Earth, the mood was triumphant but cautious. Director Cade addressed a global audience, his words broadcast to every corner of the planet. We stood against the galaxy's greatest powers, he said, and we proved that humanity will not be conquered. But this victory is not the end of our journey. It is the start of a new chapter, one where humanity takes its place among the stars. As cheers erupted across Earth, Cade turned to Riley and the other leaders of the resistance. The council will come back, Cade said. And next time, they won't come to intimidate. They'll come to destroy. Riley smirked. Let them try. They still have no idea what we're capable of. In the depths of space, humanity's hidden fleet prepared for the inevitable. The galaxy had learned to fear humans, but the real lesson was yet to come. Humanity's rise. The Galactic Council chamber, once filled with confidence and dominance, now exuded unease. Delegates sat silently in their floating seats, their postures tense. The recent treaty recognizing Earth's sovereignty weighed heavily on them, a symbol of their collective failure. Salvax of Zither, his molten silver form as still as a statue, watched the others with a faint glint of amusement in his eyes. They don't realize, he thought, that the humans haven't just won a battle. They've rewritten the rules of the galaxy. The Council had underestimated humanity before, and Salvax knew they would make the same mistake again. The first human delegation. The Council's unease grew as news spread. For the first time in history, humans were sending a delegation to the Galactic Council. The thought was unthinkable just a year prior. Humans, primitive and insignificant, sitting among the galaxy's most advanced species. The day arrived, and the chamber was packed. Delegates whispered among themselves, trying to hide their curiosity and resentment. Then the doors opened. 3 humans walked in, their strides confident, their faces calm. At the front was Director Cade, his sharp eyes surveying the room like a predator assessing prey. Beside him were Riley and Dr. Marcus Turing, a scientist who had played a critical role in humanity's rise. A ripple of discomfort spread through the room. The humans didn't look intimidated. They looked ready. Cade stepped to the central podium, his voice steady as he began. Members of the Galactic Council, we thank you for acknowledging Earth's sovereignty. But let me make one thing clear. This is not a moment of submission. This is a moment of recognition. Humanity has earned its place among you, and we will ensure our presence is felt. The council pushes back. The Vraxan delegate, still bristling from the humiliation of the Callista conflict, hissed loudly. Arrogant words from a species barely able to travel beyond its own star system. What makes you think you belong here? Cade turned his gaze to the Vraxan, unflinching. Because we've already defeated you, and we did it without your advanced technology, without your centuries of experience. Imagine what happens when we match your strength. The chamber fell silent. The threat wasn't veiled. It was a promise. The Yalvani delegate, crystalline and shimmering, tried a more diplomatic approach. Earth's resilience is impressive, yes. But you must understand, the galaxy operates under balance and order. Humanity must prove it can uphold these principles. Dr. Turing stepped forward, his voice calm and measured. Balance and order. Is that what you call exploiting weaker species and stripping planets of their resources? Humanity doesn't seek to disrupt the galaxy. We seek to improve it. Together. The council murmured, some intrigued, others unconvinced. A new power emerges. As the debate raged in the council, humanity was already moving forward. On Earth, plans for interstellar colonization were underway. The stealth fleet that had turned the tide at Callista was growing, now incorporating hybrid technology that combined human ingenuity with salvaged alien advancements. The hidden shipyards orbiting Jupiter hummed with activity, their workers assembling vessels designed to explore and defend the farthest reaches of space. In secret, alliances were forming. Smaller, oppressed species across the galaxy reached out to humanity, inspired by their defiance of the Council. On the shadowed side of a distant moon, a representative of the Trelk, a long-subjugated species, spoke to Riley in hushed tones. Your victory has given us hope. If Earth leads, we will follow. Riley nodded. We don't want war. But if the Council pushes us, we'll push back. Together. The Galactic Council's dilemma. The Council, for all its posturing, was fracturing. Delegates from lesser races began questioning their allegiances. Was it better to remain loyal to the Council, or to join humanity in their vision of a more balanced galaxy? Zalvax watched this shift with interest. He saw the cracks forming, the way fear and envy rippled through the chamber. During a closed session, the Council leader turned to Zalvax. You've studied humans more than anyone. What is your advice? Zalvax smiled faintly. You have two choices. You can embrace them as equals, or you can oppose them and lose everything. Either way, humanity will change the galaxy. Humanity's first proposal. In the next session, Cade addressed the Council again. This time, his tone was not just one of defiance, but of leadership. Earth is willing to work with the Council, he said, but the old ways must end. No more exploitation of weaker races, no more unchecked greed. If you want humanity's cooperation, you must earn it. The Council leader's glowing eyes narrowed. And if we refuse? Cade's expression didn't change. Then humanity will go it alone. And believe me, we won't be alone for long. The new alliance. As humanity's influence grew, so did its alliances. The Trelk, the Marani, and the enigmatic Dryath announced their support for Earth. Together, these species formed the first true opposition to the Galactic Council in millennia. The Council, faced with growing dissent and the realization that humanity's adaptability could not be stopped, finally conceded. In a historic vote, Earth was officially granted a permanent seat on the Council. But it wasn't just a seat. It was a voice, a symbol of change. The dawn of a new era. As the first human delegation left the Council chambers, Riley glanced at Cade. Do you think they'll keep their word? Cade smiled faintly. No, but it doesn't matter. They've already lost their grip on the galaxy. From now on, we shape the future. Back on Earth, humanity celebrated the victory, but their leaders knew the work was just beginning. The galaxy was vast and dangerous, filled with challenges humanity had yet to face. But now, they weren't just survivors, they were leaders. As Director Cade looked up at the stars from his command center, he whispered, "We've shown them who we are. Now, we show them who we can become." The camera panned out, revealing Earth glowing brightly against the infinite expanse of the galaxy, a beacon of resilience, hope, and unstoppable determination. Humanity had risen, and the galaxy would never be the same.